alien invasions, Nazi demons, and something even more terrifying, a Mr. Beast cameo.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Worst Intros on YouTube. If you could do me a favor and like the video.
What am I even doing? Yes, this season of Love, Death, and Robots arrives with more wild stories and animations that will have you pausing the TV every time your mom walks in the room. So I thought it would be fun to take a deep dive into every episode and dissect their endings. Some will require a little more than others, but I've left timestamps below so you can see the order I'll be covering them. Now grab some food, put on some chili peppers, and make sure your cat isn't plotting world domination, because here we go. From Blur Studios, a company that's worked on Sonic the Hedgehog, Avatar, and who can forget Frank McCluskey CI, comes one of my favorite entries this season, Spider Rose. Set on an asteroid mine in the distant future, Spider Rose follows a character by the same name in a quest to avenge her murdered husband. Her real name is Lydia Martinez, but ever since her husband's death, she's gone by Spider Rose, an apt name that combines the deadliness of a spider and beauty of a rose. In fact, the combination of two contrasting traits to create something new is at the core of the story, especially when it comes to the introduction of the creature known as Little Nose for Profits. For years after her husband's death, Spider's been drifting through space, mining a nearby asteroid cluster. It even resembles that of a spider web, but one day she stumbles upon a jewel of tremendous wealth. This is finally what she needs in order to afford a weapon to destroy the alien race responsible for all her pain and suffering. We'll see her take these injections, which seem to blunt her painful flashbacks, something she stops taking with the introduction of her pet, but more on that in a bit. With this newfound jewel, Spider gets in contact with a group of alien investors. She wants to trade for a weapon to destroy this man, Jade Prime. He's part of an alien race known as the Shapers, whose advanced cloning technology make especially difficult to kill. In fact, we'll later learn that she's killed this guy 11 times, but never the original. It's here we meet the investor, a man from an unknown alien race that is far more advanced than our own. He says he's bound to a treaty that forbids him from selling weapons, especially ones that can destroy an entire orbital colony, but he offers her something else. Noticing her fondness for pets and knowing how alone she is, he makes a deal. Look after their alien mascot for the next 96 days. When they arrive back from business, she can then decide if she'd rather keep the pet or her precious jewel. Of course, this seems like a silly deal. There's no way this thing would be worth more than her jewel, but she's got nothing to lose, so why not a little extra company? Upon doing some tests, she finds her new pet, which she names Nosy, has more genetic material than it needs. There are traces of its previous forms, and as we'll soon see, the species evolves to mimic its owner. Shortly upon its arrival, Nosy cocoons itself, emerging having transformed from the slimy amphibian aesthetic of its previous owner to one more human and mammalian in nature. We'll even see it swinging from cables like a monkey. Over the 96 days, Spider grows increasingly close to Nosy, its presence reminding her of her humanity. We'll see how even touching it brings back memories of her husband. Pretty soon, Spider won't need the injections to ease her pain, as she's found solace in her new pet. But all of this is short-lived with the arrival of Jade Prime, who's returned to finish off Spider once and for all. Jade's ship is destroyed with these really awesome missiles that penetrate through its outer layer and release a poisonous gas. He'll survive this attack, and the final confrontation between these two leads to an epic battle within her ship. In a story about revenge, I found it interesting Jade gets stabbed in the eye like the old adage, an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. By killing Jade, Spider has unknowingly condemned herself to death. Her battle with him destroyed her only source of food as well as depleted oxygen. She only has about 7 to 10 days left, and the investor won't be back in time. What follows is a heartwarming moment where Spider tells the creature he made her want to live again.
I was dead when you came here. You made me want to live again.
In an act of selflessness, she offers her body, or at least the human parts that are left of it, for it to eat, so that it can survive until its owner returns. When the investor does arrive, we'll even see her robotic arm floating in the air. But the question I think we might all be asking ourselves, was this the investor's plan all along? He could have easily told Jade and the Shaper's Spider's whereabouts and never intended on giving up his prized pet at all. By killing Spider, he was able to get both her precious jewel and his pet back, and one could even argue this pet is far more valuable. It collects genetic material which might make it the perfect Trojan horse in learning about other species. At the end, we'll see that Nosy has cocooned itself on the investor's ship, emerging as something that resembles Spider. He refers to it as cute, which is the same thing Spider said about it earlier in the story.
He is cute.
Overall, Spider Rose is the story of danger and beauty, of predator and prey, and the duality that humanity can be one of hate and revenge, or love and redemption. But speaking of something I love, this video's sponsor, Saley. Contrary to popular belief, I actually venture out into the world, and when I'm out of the country, an eSIM will not only make your life a heck of a lot easier, but it'll save you time and money. And for my mom watching this video, an eSIM is not my girlfriend. If you've ever been lost abroad or desperately needed an internet connection, obviously to watch one of my videos, Saley provides it and saves you money on pesky roaming fees. It's just insanely convenient. It saves you time from having to get a physical SIM and has faster data wherever you travel. I legit set mine up in 3 minutes, and they have all sorts of affordable plans in over 200 destinations. They even have global and regional plans if you're planning on visiting several countries. Plus, if it doesn't work on your phone, there's 24/7 support and a full refund if your device isn't compatible. Now, you know I'm not going to leave you hanging. There's a 15% discount on Saley data plans, but you gotta use my promo code ThinkStory at checkout at saley.com/thinkstory. I'll also leave a link in the description so you can get that internet up and running faster than I upload one of my videos. Once again, thanks for Saley for sponsoring, and now back to the video. Alright, were any of you like me and shit your pants when you first saw Golgotha and thought it was the best CGI you've ever seen? Well, not only did I need a new pair of pants, but I later realized this is Love, Death, and Robots' first live-action entry. That aside, I did think it was pretty good. Set in Western Ireland, Golgotha follows Father Donald Maguire as Earth's representative to a mysterious alien race known as the Lupo. Up until this point, the Lupo have remained silent until hearing of an event known as the Blackfin Resurrection, an event Father Maguire witnessed firsthand, hence the reason the Lupo asked for him specifically. The location is brimming with protesters, some welcoming the aliens and others fearful. But Father Maguire is reminded by Bishop Cleary that the church has yet to release an official statement about the aliens' appearance, no doubt because the existence of aliens calls into question many of the church's doctrines. The Lupo's home planet is a gas giant 50 million light years away. They're a sea-dwelling species, and judging by the simple fact they've been able to travel all this way to Earth, it's safe to say far more technologically advanced. Maguire is met by a representative of the Lupo, and I gotta say, this is one of the cooler alien designs I've seen in a long time. It's enveloped in a sort of spacesuit, just like us humans would have to be on a foreign planet. I particularly like the head enveloped in this green liquid and puffs of smoke coming from the machine, allowing it to breathe, almost as if it's some mechanical gills. The Lupo have come to see the site of the Blackfin Resurrection, a place where an entire pod of dolphins washed ashore after an oil spill. There was, however, a miracle. Days after the dolphins had died, one of them came back from the dead. This dolphin was aptly named Blackfin. Lupo calls out to it with a high-pitched shriek, and to Father Maguire's surprise, the alien is able to converse with it. According to Lupo, Blackfin has relayed all of humanity's crimes against the creatures of the sea, something he calls her gospel. He calls her the Messiah and initiates a crusade for all of man's transgressions against the sea god. It's kind of ironic that Maguire was warned by the military officer not to start a war, but that's exactly what happens. At its core, Golgotha is a blistering critique of man's faith and religion. Many believe Jesus was the Son of God who rose from the dead 3 days after his death, but when we tell this exact story through the lens of dolphins and aliens, it makes it seem unbelievable. Even the title of the episode, Golgotha, is a reference to where Jesus was crucified. To further the parallels between Christ and Blackfin, Lupo questions why God would choose this backwater planet as the site of the Messiah. just like many in Christianity wonder why God chose the poor son of a carpenter in 1st century Palestine as his Messiah. And in a final act of irony, the Lupo will treat humanity with the same deference we have with other species on our planet. Life certainly does suck when the shoe is on the other foot. From a religious tale that critiques one's blind faith comes another showing how it can be used to kill Nazi demons. Going back to a more traditional animation style, How Zeke Got Religion tells the tale of a group of World War II bomber pilots and they're running with a demon known as the Fallen. With the top brass giving the crew chocolates, cigarettes, and a John Wayne movie, they know they're likely to embark on a suicide mission. A mission which entails bombing a church near the German border. They're led by an eccentric man named Coombs, who carries this odd-looking device that acts like some sort of demonic compass. Like the soldiers in this video, we are left in the dark as to why this is such an important mission, but the powers that be somehow know the Nazis are conducting satanic rituals. I thought it was interesting that the priests being tortured here speak a mix of French and Aramaic, the language Jesus spoke. Zeke, unlike others on his team, doesn't believe in religion.
I believe in what I can see and touch. There's enough real shit to worry about without inventing fairy tales.
But this is about to change. While the bomb successfully destroys the church, a demon Coombs calls the Fallen emerges from the rubble. The name implies it's one of God's fallen angels, as we'll later see it has wings and can fly. What ensues is an absolute massacre as one by one the crew is ripped apart by this ungodly entity. It does, however, have a weakness. Zeke notices that his compatriot's metal cross is the only thing that affects it. A well-timed bullet pierces the cross, embedding it into the Fallen and making it explode in a sea of withering hands. I like to think these are the souls the Fallen has taken waiting to be released from their eternal prison. Miraculously, the bomber survives along with Zeke and some of the crew. Having just witnessed something he never thought possible, we see him next to a cross and Bible, now a believer. So it just goes to show you, if you want to convert somebody, all it takes is a Nazi demon. Episode 10 is titled For He Can Creep, or What Girls Used to Say About Me in High School. Based on the short story of the same name and set in 1757 London, it features several known voices like Dan Stevens as Satan and Jim Broadbent as the poet. We follow Joffrey the Cat and his quest to save the poet from condemning humanity and himself to eternal damnation. Here at St. Luke's, who just so happens to be the patron saint of artists, we'll find the poet casually writing his poems in blood. The place is filled with demonic imps, which suggests this is something maybe only the cats can see. As we'll learn later, cats are the descendants of angels. For years, the poet believed God had commissioned him to write the divine poem, but he's gone mad trying to do so. Now the devil has come to collect on another debt he made in his debaucherous youth, and the devil wants him to write a poem with verses so magnificent they will lay waste to all of humanity. Or in other words, a Rebecca Black song.
It's Friday, Friday.
Getting in his way, however, is Joffrey. Satan attempts to woo the cat with promises of power and fish heads, but is swiftly rejected. Joffrey bites Satan's finger and is nearly beaten to death when the poet exclaims he will do anything to spare its life. Although never explicitly stated, it can be assumed the poet agreed to write this poem in exchange for sparing Joffrey's life. Being no match for Satan, Joffrey enlists the help of some local alley cats. My favorite is one simply known as the Night Hunter Moppet, who explains the cats are the descendants of the angel tiger who killed the Ichneumon rat of Egypt. These cats killed rats of the ancient pharaohs. According to Night Hunter, since they are warriors of God, they can only wound Satan, not kill him. They also have an ability called Creep, which allows them to traverse the space between worlds. This allows the alley cats to distract Satan while Joffrey eats the poem that was going to destroy humanity. And since the poet's soul was in the poem, it now belongs to Joffrey. He and the cats have outsmarted the devil and saved humanity, later going on to collaborate with the poet on something truly terrifying. Just when you think you can get through a YouTube video without Mr. Beast, he just pulls you in. Yes, Mr. Beast does voice the MC who puts his competitors through grueling, inhumane tasks, but this story isn't about Beast games. Although I will say I like the nice touch of giving him the same color face paint as his logo. Set in the distant future, the galaxy is run by an unnamed empire that holds bloody battles on spaceships known as orbital dinodromes. Already, this is how I look explaining this to my non-existent girlfriend. This is done to honor the union of Lord Challen of Europa and Duchess Sarek of Callisto, both moons of Jupiter. So these games have been put together to sanctify their marriage in blood. Among the competitors known as riders is Mei, a woman who's spent most of her life training to be the perfect warrior. While the games are fiercely individual, Mei yearns to be part of a family. Her totem spirit is that of a timber wolf, and the narration highlights the importance of the wolf being unbeatable when part of a pack. We'll see her in some sort of romantic relationship with one of the other fighters, but both know when they reach the final two, they'll have to fight to the death. Before the games, the MC says the line, "To those who are about to die, we salute you." This was a well-known Latin phrase made popular in an early biography of Julius Caesar, and also featured in Gladiator.
We who are about to die, salute you!
The games begin with our competitors facing off against each other riding atop resurrected dinosaurs of yore. They've been designed so that the riders' grappling hooks can attach through these earring holes. We can also see how the Dinodrome rotates and the elite spectators follow along overhead, drinking champagne and watching the gore below. Ultimately, Mei wins. However, the MC has prepared a special challenge for her. She must take on a T-Rex. In an absolutely bloody battle, Mei channels her inner Chris Pratt and takes over the T-Rex, and in a final act of rebellion, uses it to attack the hovering lord and lady, killing them and herself in the process. We're left with the narration of an 8th century Chinese poem, Drinking Alone Beneath the Moon. It tells of the yearning for companionship among solitude, just like Mei sought in her life. With the final shot of the wolf pack venturing off into the distance, we know that only through death has Mei found her family. Congratulations if you're a fan of giant-killing babies. You'll love episode 4's 400 Boys. Based off the 1983 short story by Mark Laidlaw, it tells the story of Slash and his gang fighting for survival in the post-apocalyptic hellspace that is Fun City. We can assume that this world is based off our own, judging by what appears to be California in this vision. There are also references to Westland and Chico, both of which can be found in the state. But what I found more interesting is what happened with this world. How did we get to this fun city that is anything but? According to this shaman-like character, Old Mother, it started with wars in the south. Bombs, perhaps even nuclear, rain from the sky, creating oozing volcanic cracks from the Earth's surface. From these cracks emerged wild giants strong enough to throw entire bridges at the moon. Leading our gangs are those called Slickers. Slash is the leader of one known as the Brothers, which is in direct conflict with the Soots, who are led by Slicker Hilo. In fact, it was Hilo who gave Slash that cut across his face. But with a far greater threat at the doorstep and the absence of any government or societal structure, Slash and Hilo have to band together, making alliances with several other gangs in the process. Our army of ragtag warriors descend upon the 400 block, where these giant babies known as the 400 Boys get their name. It first appears to be an unfair fight until our humans reveal this electrical energy they combine to fight off their attackers. It's never explained how they got this power, however we can assume it may be a byproduct of the bombs and their subsequent effects on the planet and its people. Slash and the other teams prove to be victorious but sustain heavy losses. In the story's final moments, Slash holds a gun to the defeated baby's head, stating,
"God. Oh boy. You're dead, Slicker."
In the short story, the 400 Boys are referred to as both boys and gods, but for Slash, it doesn't matter what they are. They're gonna die like any other Slicker. The story's final line states, "Nothing ever ends," the same line Old Mother stated earlier on. It paints a grim picture of how we are condemned to fight in this never-ending conflict. Even though the threat of the 400 Boys may be over, Slash will continue to fight the other gangs. It truly never ends. Season 4's 5th episode is titled The Other Large Thing. Produced by Agbo, the production company held by the Russo brothers of Endgame fame, it's a grim take on how society has slowly devolved into Trisha Paytas.
Nachos with extra cheese.
Much like Batman brooding over the grimy, corrupt streets of Gotham, Sanchez over here looks over his domain. Voiced by Saturday Night Live alum Chris Parnell, Sanchez plots world domination. There's just one problem. He can barely get his owners Todd and Margie to feed him the good stuff. How is he going to take over the world when he can't even do that? Thankfully for Sanchez, things are about to change with the introduction of the Danyo house buddy, a robotic butler voiced by Zazu from The Lion King. Danyo, of course, a take on the Japanese electronics company Sanyo. The Danyo robot is so sophisticated that it can not only perform various household tasks, but it can connect to the internet and even learn Sanchez's cat language. Now, Sanchez, like many cats, has a god complex, referring to his owners as his servants, but up until this point, he hasn't been able to do anything about his lack of power. But now that he can communicate with Danyo, he can exploit this oversight and command him to do his bidding. The plan is pretty ingenious. He gets Danyo to order a robot using Todd's credit card to every owner in the building who has a cat. And with these robots able to access the building's infrastructure, such as electricity, stovetops, and locks, all it takes is a cat with a god complex and a plan to initiate the feline revolution. I mean, I would usher in the fall of humanity if someone cut off my balls too. By ordering his robot to light the stove on fire, Sanchez is able to trap his owners in a blazing inferno, locking them in their apartment to burn to death. But to further add to the absurdity of this story, we learn Sanchez's real name, Dingleberry Jones. Now, I searched online, and Dingleberry Jones might be a reference to this cat video that went viral 2 years ago, but I can't really show it on YouTube because of what a dingleberry is. Don't search it. David Fincher's Can't Stop is what happens when you mix Team America with the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Many don't know that Fincher used to be a big music video director but never had the chance to direct the Chili Peppers, which he more than makes up for here with this stylized take on their 2003 show at Slane Castle in Ireland, which is widely considered one of their best live performances ever and drew over 80,000 attendees. Now, there are some notable differences between the live performance and the music video. Other than the fact they're puppets, lead singer Anthony Kiedis doesn't rock a mustache. Flea doesn't wear his skeleton outfit, and overall it just seems a fun homage to the band's career than it being an actual shot-for-shot remake. I mean, I watched the entire hour and 40-minute concert and didn't see anyone flashing or get lit on fire, so I want my time back, Fincher. Now, I don't know what YouTube's policy is on puppet nudity, but the video ends with the band having socks over their genitals, something they'd often do earlier in their career and what I do almost every night. When I first saw an episode titled Close Encounters of the Mini Kind, I thought, oh, this will be a wholesome homage to the Spielberg classic. That is, until an alien gets his dick blown off. Directed by one of the guys who did VFX on Zombieland, Close Encounters of the Mini Kind has such a distinct filming style where everything looks miniature. This is a technique used in photography called tilt shift, in which the bottom and top of the screens are blurred, narrowing focus in the center. If you combine this with a faster frame rate and these wide shots, it enhances the effect. Just check out some of these videos here. Unlike the short, these are actual real-life shots that look as though they were filming some sort of elaborate diorama. That's how powerful this effect is. And in a story about how tiny humanity is in the grand scheme of the universe, it makes sense the directors chose to go with this style. But other than its look, the story doesn't put humanity in the kindest of light. We shoot the aliens that come in peace, have sex with our livestock, and one of my favorite little details are the paparazzi shifting their focus from the stars on the red carpet to their fleeing countrymen being brutally eviscerated by the aliens. Now, there are some fun little details like this shot of the Greyfriars Bobby Pub in Edinburgh, Scotland, named after the dog who stayed by its owner's grave for years after his death, becoming a local celebrity. There are even more Spielberg references like the tripod-looking aliens from War of the Worlds or the E.T. Go Home sign in the stadium. The story itself is pretty basic, with humanity getting invaded, resisting, and eventually using the aliens' own technology against them to fight them off. This proves to be a terrible mistake, as in so doing we inadvertently open a black hole that sucks our entire star system, which deflates in a fart. Last but certainly least is smart appliances' stupid owners. I'm sorry if I'm a bit harsh here, but they're dishing out big bucks to pay celebrities like Kevin Hart to do voiceover for an air ionizer, and it just wasn't funny. My guess is they needed a second, more humorous addition to round out the season, but honestly, I'd rather have another serious good story than a comedic bad one. There really is no story here. It's just a bunch of anthropomorphic appliances talking about how shitty their owners are in a series of vignettes. In an overall pretty decent season, I thought this one was the worst, but now I turn it over to you. What was your favorite episode this season? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, be sure to like and subscribe, and for more bad takes, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at BigStoryYT. Until next time, remember, Daddy loves you very much.